election, and nor will they be issued pending the resolution of that matter. Thus, at this evening's reorganization meeting, we are unable to announce the election results or swear in the new board members this evening. Also, immediately prior to this reorganization meeting, we discovered that the mail notice requirements for a reorganization meeting under the Public School Code were not provided. We believe that it was due to the resignation of the former board secretary and the bringing on of the new board secretary. So my advice to the board this evening is to recess this reorganization meeting until a day next week to allow us to serve the proper mail notice to the board members. I understand that you are all here, so you clearly were aware of the reorganization meeting. However, to prevent any challenge to the any board action you may take this evening, that would be the cautious approach to take.
So, can I ask a question? To be clear.
Thank you.
So you're asking us to hold off and reschedule this meeting for next week? Am I understanding that correctly?
Yes, I'm asking you to recess it. If you recess it, you're not required to post it in the newspaper of general circulation. But if you recess it, allow us to mail out the proper notice tomorrow. We can schedule it for early next week.
Okay.
Any other questions?
I would do a motion to recess.
Okay. Can I give a motion to recess?
Oh.
Can I get a motion to recess this meeting?
So moved?
Second? Okay. All the in favor? Aye. All the opposed? Nay? The ayes have it. We're in recess.
Okay.
Okay. So now we go into the regular board meeting.
Regular board meeting?
Yeah.
And I'll jump in then.
Okay. Perfect. Thank you. Okay.
Pardon me?
Okay, I'll call to order of Salisbury Township School District Board meeting. I'll read this one more time. Pursuant to Board Policy 1B5, all meetings of Salisbury Township School District are audio and video recorded. Executive session purposes announcement. And we did not have an executive session as noted prior. Okay. Student representatives report.
We do not have any.
Thank you. Okay. Excuse me, can I, Jennifer, you do a roll call, please, for attendees again?
Mr. DeFrank?
Here.
Mrs. Klinger?
Here.
Mrs. Nimitz?
Still here.
All present. Okay, thank you.
And if I can
Go ahead.
interrupt right now, can you hear me? Because my green light's not on.
Yep, it's on.
Oh, there it is. Okay. All right. So since we didn't have a reorganization meeting under the Public School Code, if there is no president or vice president in attendance at a board meeting, the board can elect a temporary president for that board meeting only. So in order to move forward with this meeting agenda, my recommendation would be that the first order of business is to elect a temporary president. I understand.
Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Okay. So can I have nominations for a temporary president?
For tonight only?
For tonight only.
Sam? DeFrank?
All right, are there any other nominations? Can we vote on it? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those against, say nay. The ayes have it.
Thank you.
Yep, I thought it'd be neat. Special recognition?
None.
No, not them. Okay, we're moving quick. Any changes or additions to the agenda?
So Attorney Roddick, would we want to appoint, we had originally planned on appointing Mrs. Christine Stafford as the board secretary to replace Mr. Taylor, who's still currently secretary. We had that on the reorganization agenda. Can we put that here now?
You can. I think that would qualify as an exception under the Sunshine Act. And I think it's necessary, considering that there'll be a lapse then between board secretaries.
Okay.
So we need a motion to amend the agenda to add.
Can I get a motion to, once you read it?
To add, to approve the appointment of Christine Stafford as school board secretary effective December 6th, 2021, until a date to be determined.
So moved.
Second.
All the in favor? Say aye. Aye. All the against? Nay. The ayes have it.
All right, so then that item is added to the agenda.
Okay, we did the motion to approve the agenda. 1.7, citizens' inquiries and comments pertaining to the agenda items. Do we have any? Well, we have none, okay. Motion to approve the following minutes. November 17th, regular board meeting, and that is,
That's it.
okay.
So moved.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All the in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All the against? Ayes have it. Okay, payment, well, let me get closer here. Payment of bills, total general fund expenditures and total athletic expenditures payroll, November 24, 2021 through December 6, 2021, $571,596.65. Food service, SFE, nutritional services, November 24th, 2021 through December 6th, 2021, $22.35. And student activities fund, November 24th, 2021 through December 6th, 2021, $354.68. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All the in favor, say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Ayes have it. Treasurer's report, 1.10. Do we have a treasurer's report?
We do not, with the transition in the business office.
Rob?
And the team is working on the audit and annual financial report.
Fantastic. I assume you don't have a report of the secretary of the board at this point in time?
Unless Christine wants to say thanks for nominating me.
None this evening. Fantastic. Okay, then we come to the Curriculum and Technology Committee. Ms. Carol Kingler, easy for me to say, Chair. Carol?
Okay, tonight we have 3 items on the Curriculum and Technology Committee to approve. 2.1 is a special education agreement and release regarding Student B. 2.2 is an agreement with the Colonial Intermediate Unit 20 contract to provide partial hospitalization program for a Salisbury student from 11/10 until the end of the school year. And we don't have to approve 2.3, right? Because that's a discussion. So with that, I'd like to move items 2.1 to 2.2.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All the in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it.
Okay,
Now
so then
2.
we'll move on to,
Did we approve the agenda? I know we approved them. I know we approved the agenda as well, in addition to the motion for the addition to the agenda.
Right, we approved adding Christine Stafford as secretary, and I'd recommend that would go under 4.13, which is personnel. But I don't know whether or
We didn't
not-
approve the amended agenda.
Correct.
Okay. When we go back to that?
Yes,
Sounds perfect. All right, 1.6, motion to approve the agenda
as amended.
as amended.
second,
Thank you. All the in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Sorry. Okay. All right. Operations Committee Chair,
We have an update for the ELA
Oh, I'm sorry, go right ahead.
Just a quick update. Since, as you know, we've been presenting at curriculum meetings an overview of how we're modernizing our curriculum, including our ELA program. We started this work last March, and we started a pilot with Wit and Wisdom this fall. After the last curriculum meeting, I met with most of our teachers. There's one I still have to get with, but I did reach out, do surveys, and then talked with some of the teachers. And what, our findings are is we really like the benefits we see with children. We like the authentic text, the full books. It's full books. It's not a basal. It's dynamic. It includes art and a lot of movement and engagement. It incorporates writing. There's lots of opportunities for kids to dig into complex text and interesting text. There's lots of opportunities for partner work, whole group, small group. And it builds on our existing structured phonics program, which we're finding success with. There are a couple of quotes. I just pulled out things teachers shared with me when I surveyed, and this includes surveying of all the teachers involved in the project, that they really like the art piece, believe it or not, has really been interesting, how that's really opened up kids and really opened up conversation in classrooms. Because these modules are built around interesting topics and it's multiple books, kids develop a lot of background knowledge. So our ESL students, our students who might be struggling readers, they may start the unit not having a lot of background knowledge and finding their way, but by mid-module, we're seeing those kids really open up and really engage because of that background knowledge piece, and we really like that. And this is, from some of our teachers are noticing this across different grade spans. And basically, we feel like the things we're seeing kids produce and do are the things that the skills they're going to need in middle and high school. That said, nothing is perfect. And nothing is without its challenges. So one of the things that the teachers have asked to do is move forward with Module 2. Some of the teachers are still deciding, but most of the teachers wanted to move forward. And the idea here is for us to work on the pacing, getting that module and lesson pacing down, identifying what's essential in materials. In the first wave of the pilot, we only got the bare essentials. And so we found some things that are a struggle, and we're wondering if these additional ancillary materials will be helpful. So basically, we really like what we see from the students, but now how can we take the burden off the teachers or balance that burden with a new curriculum? And we're really exploring the schedule. If our students are diverse learners, they may be pulled out for research-based reading instruction, but it doesn't mean they wouldn't benefit from also being included in regular education reading opportunities. But they have to be, we have to have the schedule be conducive to making that happen. So Mr. Brem is meeting with some of our teachers to look for some of those efficiencies so that we can maximize our learning support students and our ESL students in both opportunities. The other piece I just wanted to connect to this work is Mrs. Frick at the last board meeting had mentioned HB 2045, which was a new bill that was passed in the House regarding the science of reading. In there, it talks about, and who knows what its final form will be, but it talks about professional development, both formal and informal, from a reading coach and also from outside sources. And it talks about the adoption of high-quality instructional materials. So the connection I wanted to make for the community and for all of you is that the Wit and Wisdom is one of those curriculums that is a high-quality instructional materials. It meets that criteria. It falls under that science of reading. And last month when I shared with you regarding letters training, language essentials for teachers of reading and spelling, that is the training. It looks like these types of laws are a trend. Connecticut passed along, Colorado, Tennessee, North Carolina. I'm expecting that because, I mean, who's going to say we want to be taught in the not scientific way of teaching reading? So, I mean, I foresee this going through, and I think the point I'd like to make is we're already engaged in that work deeply, and we're benefiting from that work with our teachers, and looking to continue that work. And basically, what you're looking at is this simple view of reading is it's that foundational skills, those decoding skills, which is what our structured phonics and our Haggerty curriculum does for phonemic awareness, alongside language comprehension, which is rich, engaging texts, background knowledge, those types of pieces. So I just wanted to kind of make that connection to what's happened politically. In a sense, it still could be an unfunded mandate because that particular legislation talks about an instructional literacy coach, and we don't currently have an instructional literacy coach per se, but I think the heart of the work we're already engaged in, so we're ahead of the game. So just the big idea is we're continuing the pilot, we're problem solving, and we're trying to figure out the best resources to move forward with modernizing our curriculum.
Kelly, just curious, do you have any idea when you anticipate this bill, I guess, be brought to a vote or be finalized? And it actually could go backwards, I guess, and not get pushed through, but you're just ahead of the game looking at this, correct?
Yeah, I was just wondering how they were defining the science of reading. And when I looked at the rest of the states that have already passed, first of all, I was surprised. I had no idea. I wasn't really, paying attention that this had been passed in other states. And I think then I was looking for how are they defining it? And they really are the training and the professional development that all of these states have looked at, as far as I can tell, is letters training, the training that our teachers are engaged in. So I feel like we're, sometimes you're behind the 8 ball and sometimes you're ahead. And in this case, I think we're right where we need to be.
Thank you. Moving on to Operations Committee. At this point in time, there is no report. Number 4, Personnel Committee. Carol.
Okay. There are 12 items for us to move. There are some building resignations of subs, of IAs. There's the hiring of a long-term behavioral interventionist at SES. We named a mentor. There's one FMLA request, and there's some FMLA people coming back. And then there's a temporary medical excuser instructor that I think rescinded. And then we hired another medical excusal instructor for student A. They're both for student A. There's a revised start date for I don't know what that person was. What was that person?
Robinson?
Robinson, 411, 4.11.
I think this is an instructional assistant.
Okay.
It's not in here, though.
Okay. And then there's an employment of a middle school basketball coach. So with that, I would like to move items 4.1 to 4.12.
And can we add 4.13, which was the motion to approve Christine Stafford as the board secretary?
Okay. Do we vote on that individually or just move it all?
You can move it all.
Okay, so I would like to move 4.1 to 4.13.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Any comments? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Ayes have it. Okay, Policy Committee, nothing to report at this time. Student activities, nothing to report at this time. And to reports, Carbon Intermediate Unit, nothing to report this time. Lehigh County Carbon College, that would be myself. We had our board meeting last Thursday, and it was a very intriguing meeting where we actually saw head count starting to increase above and beyond 2019 values. So we are seeing a return of students, and I feel very positive about that. So much time and effort that has been put in by the whole staff there to retain, to promote, and attract new students out there. So it was a nice turning point for the resources that put in by the college. I do have one item to move, 7.3. This is the Operation Debt Service and Capital Expenditure Budget for Lcic. That is for $6,186,337. The portion, Salisbury's portion, is $184,587, and I think that is an absolute bargain for what we get from our community. So I so move. Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Ayes have it. All right. Lehigh Carbon and Technical Institute, Sarah.
Okay, I just have a little bit of information to share tonight. We had a meeting the Monday before Thanksgiving, and that was the night that the budget gets presented to the Joint Operating Committee, and I have the copy here if anybody wants to look at it, but our contribution, so our contribution is broken down into two parts for the Career and Technical School, and then for the Academic Center, which is their like full-day program. Our contribution for the Academic Center actually went down just like $4,000, but our contribution for LCTI as a whole is going up about $100,000 this year. So again, I have this here if anybody wants to take a look. And I also attended the ACTE conference at the end of last week virtually. It was so fascinating. There were so many sessions, and I'm actually glad that I got to participate virtually because I can go back and watch the ones that I missed that I really wanted to watch. So I'm still sort of digesting all of it. It was super interesting to me how many presentations there were about equity in CTE, in recruiting and retaining underserved populations, and about project-based learning. Those seem to be the huge themes for me. So, you know, I'm planning on putting together just like a little synopsis to share with everyone at some point.
Fantastic. Thank you. Okay, 7.5, PSB legislation, no report. 7.6, solicitor, Christine Roddick.
I have no report tonight.
Okay, no report. 7.7, superintendent's report, Ms. Funi Hedden.
So I have a couple of items here just to share in a quick update. All right, so first of all, previous meeting, we discussed the ESSER 2.5% set aside that the district was afforded, assuming the grant is approved. So we did submit that grant. It was due on 11/29, and wanted to give you an update on some of the items that we put into that grant. After-school programming, summer school, credit recovery, staff to support summer school programming, enrichment programs, we're required to have a set aside for that as well. So summer enrichment and camps, we're also looking at transition academies for secondary students. So what can we do to support ninth graders as they're moving from the middle school into the high school? What can we do to support fifth graders as they're moving from the elementary building to the middle school? Teams have been working on those things, thinking about that to determine how we can best support our learners as we're thinking about learning loss and success in our buildings. Additionally, we have a learning loss set aside, and we surveyed teachers and community, and really what we heard back from our staff is we really don't need stuff, we need people to support learners. And we've decided to seek a behavioral interventionist at the middle school. We currently have a behavior interventionist at the high school. We have 2 behavior interventionists at the elementary school, but we do not have one at the middle school at this time. And our needs are such that we need to be looking towards that. So using a good chunk of those funds for a year of salary for that staff member. Mrs. Pauling also is working on crisis prevention intervention, which is a train-the-trainer professional learning model in which staff members can be trained by our staff members who complete this training in de-escalation techniques and strategies. Also, there are restraints in that training as well. And then also SEL training. So how can our teachers and leaders best support our learners with the social emotional learning needs that they have? now, which may have been intensified as a result of COVID. And then finally, there's an 8% allocation that needs to be set aside to support reading. And you heard Mrs. Pauling talk about letters, so that money can be used to support letters training for teachers, as well as materials if we need to purchase additional materials for teachers, and substitute fees so that we can pay substitutes when teachers need to go to attend those trainings. So wanted to give a little update on how we completed that grant, and at this point we haven't received any feedback, so we'll keep you informed. Any questions on that? Pardon me.
Thank you, Lynn.
And last item, just want to provide an update for the public and for our board. The application process closed for the CFOs. We are using a multi-level interview process. I completed Zoom interviews, and we also conducted first round interviews. So this week we're identifying candidates for the second round interviews, and we're anticipating hiring at the January board meeting when we have hopefully have our full board. From that point, there could be a 60-day period of wait or 90-day period of wait, depending on if the CFO candidate is currently employed and has a contract tying him or her to his or her district for 60 or 90 days. So it could be March until we have a new CFO, and Mrs. Stafford would serve as the board secretary to be sure that we have that role filled between now and when that new person would be coming on. Any other questions? All right, thank you.
Thank you, Lynn. Number 8, new business.
Do we have to swear Christine in? Wasn't that on the original? Wasn't there like an oath she had to take or something?
Not a secretary, I don't think.
Okay, just checking.
So new business, one thing that I wanted to bring to the board, last month we talked about masking and athletics, and we talked about high school athletics. And there is a piece there that we missed, and that's the fact that there are high school students on middle school teams. So the question is, does the board want to revisit the conversation about high school students and or middle school students? We do have several middle school sports, grades 7, 8, 9. Grade 6 students in middle school serve as managers, so they're not actively engaged in competition. But the question would be, do you want to revisit that for the middle school sports?
I would say, just throwing it out there for the team and say yes, but I'd like to hear comments from, yeah, go ahead, Sarah.
I have thought a lot about this, in the last, I've thought a lot about this. When it comes down to it, our 7th and 8th grade, we decided that unmasking for high school students at games would be okay because they've had, 6-8 months now to get vaccinated. So have our 7th and 8th graders. That vaccinations for 12 and up went into effect in early April. So, I don't see the difference, basically, is what I'm saying.
Okay. Carol, your thoughts?
I agree. I don't see much difference. They've all had the opportunity to get vaccinated, and I believe we should extend it down to 7th and 8th grade also.
Yeah, I concur. I think at this point in time, this was going to be a node and a decision point, and unfortunately, a lot of things got sideways. And from feedback from our athletic director, I have to concur that it's the right thing to do to expand this down to middle school as well, and have a new edict going forward with that. I guess the other discussion we can have, is your thoughts, right now, the requirement. If Monica, you'd like to say a few words?
First of all, good evening, and thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Just wanted to bring everybody up to speed. What Lynn had mentioned. Right now, our middle school students, right now, everybody's masking while they practice when they're engaged in competition. It's only when the high school programs go into competition that they don't have to mask when they're actively engaged. When they're out of the game, they're on the bench. When they're not drinking a glass of water or something, the mask is on. So in summer, we'd like to extend that to the middle school students to have the same situation, and include the sixth graders in that mix as well. I mean, they're on the bench, they're on buses. I mean, the rules would still apply. We probably want to talk about it too, and I don't, if this is an appropriate time to bring up with our youth organization as well, since they use our facilities, and talking to some parents of some youth organization kids. I mean, you know, it's going to get to the point, if it's not already there, that there may be programs that won't come to our facilities to either play basketball against us or wrestle our programs because we have a policy that's more stringent than what theirs are. So I think we should, my recommendation would be at any point in time when you're actively engaged in competition that you don't have to wear a mask at the youth level on the way up. And then when you're out and you're not, that you don't have, that you do have to mask.
Well, thank you. So if I can paraphrase the saying, your ask is from middle school up when they're actively engaged to not have masks, whether that is students that attend or SYI using our facilities, and have a uniform policy for both. Is that correct, Monica?
Yes.
And then when they're on the sidelines and not actively engaged, the mask rules would be that way for transit, which they have to do on buses as well as when they're not in the game.
Correct.
Correct? Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
For the clarity. Can I have comments on it? Is everybody in favor of that? Do you see that as a good path forward?
Yeah.
Carol? Okay.
So we're doing sixth grade on up.
Yep, sixth grade through 12th, yes. Wait a minute, here's Monica. Okay, well, go ahead.
I said in the youth organization, I didn't mention a grade level. So
Okay.
if that was something that warrant more discussion, and I want to make the point too, just to make sure we're on the same page. I'm talking about actively engage in competition, whether it be against an opponent or whether it be in practice scrimmaging. I want it to be across the board.
Okay, thank you for that clarity.
Yep.
And you say youth organization, so are you going to children that we're not expanding at this time below sixth grade? I just want some clarity on that. What are you recommending?
If I may ask Joe a question about what level the youth starts for sports?
Yeah, that's what I
First grade.
thought, because I remember my kid running around at Harry S. and chasing into basketball with little organization, but had a ton of fun. So are we just going to, expand this to when the youth organizations play at the middle school and high school? Or what is your ask? I'm trying to clarify.
My ask was youth organizations across the board, but I just wasn't thinking about grade level. I just was thinking athletically, our youth programs and our middle school programs and our high school programs, that it be one standard approach.
Okay, so-
that while they're actively engaged, whether
Yep.
it be in practice
Right.
or in a competition, scrimmage or a game,
Okay.
that they do not have to mask, but every other time they do.
Okay, all right. Thank you for that clarity.
Thank you very much.
Yep.
I'm
Okay.
not as comfortable with the under sixth grade set right now, just because their vaccinations have only been available for 5 weeks. We've seen COVID cases in our elementary school when they've been masked.
Yes.
That makes me nervous.
Okay.
Mine
Okay.
was sixth grade and up. Younger kids makes me nervous.
Carol, your thoughts?
And they're inside.
Yep.
I don't know, because to me, anybody that's actively engaged is going to have a tough time with these masks. But then again, the younger kids aren't vaccinated. I don't know what to say about the youth.
Well, Sarah brings up a good point of concern there of how long the vaccinations have been available down to children 5 is not a long term. I think it's something, like my personal feelings, is something that we can come back to and at our next meeting. But I do, at least my thoughts and going forward with would be a whether engage or practice for all high school and middle school students at this time and expand, I guess, our ability to not wear masks during the competition and practice, but on the sidelines as desired. That would be my thought on that. Do I hear any other comment? Sarah, is that align with your thinking?
I mean, you said on the sidelines as desired? No, like
No,
sidelines they have.
as required. I'm
as
sorry.
required.
I might have misspoke. I do that every now and then.
Okay.
My mouth moves faster than my brain or vice versa, so,
Same.
yeah, because right now it's required for masking on the sidelines
Correct.
whenever they come out, on buses, yada, yada.
Yep.
Carol, your thoughts?
The next meeting, you're saying in January, not?
Yes, we'll review,
Reorganization next week.
yeah, not that one, it would be when we have our next board meeting to review that again at that time, so that would give us some time for the vaccination opportunity going forward, and we have Miss Monica coming back for one more bite of the apple, go ahead.
Like it's karaoke night, apologize.
Yeah.
I just want to bring just one point forward. You have to remember that we have teams from the outside coming to our facilities when we have wrestling, we have basketball. So if we have a cutoff, how are we going to handle the opponents coming in? Are we going to tell them, if you're going to come to our facility at a grade level below, then you're going to have to mask? And if we do, my concern is that they're not going to want to come to our facilities and compete against our kids. And Joe has expressed that as well.
The other thing too is sixth graders are in SYA. So you have sixth graders in the same rooms and the same courts as first graders and kindergarten.
Yeah, but, Joe, correct me if I'm wrong, but sixth grade plays at the middle school, correct?
Sixth grade wrestles here.
Oh, okay.
And the sixth graders could be practicing at the high school, they could be practicing at the elementary school, they could be practicing at the middle school, and their games could be most likely at the middle school, but
But right now, middle school, don't we have that down to fifth grade? Is that people that are residing in the middle school, or is it just
Middle school sports start seventh grade.
seventh grade? Okay.
and we're talking two different things, like we could have a sixth
Yeah,
grader at the
my-
middle school.
my
but
misunderstanding. Thank
also
you for the
involved in the youth
clarity.
organization, They-
Okay.
or both at the same time.
I have a question. So if our teams go to another school,
I was at a match this weekend, there was 8 teams there, not a single mask was worn.
that's what I was going to ask. Are our kids, are we expecting them to mask when they're at another school?
We would follow their rules. So if you have schools that say, or youth organizations that say, we're not going to Salisbury because we're going to have to mask during competition, they're not going to come. They're going to do something else. Now, there are school districts, the Allentown School District has just implemented a policy that they are masking all the time, home and away. If we go to them, we're masking because we're in their facility, follow their rules. When they come to us, they will mask, but they do not require us to because it would be under our rules.
Okay, I was just wondering what happens if we go to another school that doesn't mask, then our kids won't mask. Yes.
We're not, correct me if I'm wrong, we're not governing what the youth organization does on its own time when it's away. We're only governing what they do when they're in our facilities, correct?
I mean,
Okay.
and our goal is to keep our kids in school, in our buildings. So I'm still really uncomfortable with having our under sixth graders not masked when they're in our buildings for a sport that they chose to play.
Thank you,
Right
Sarah.
In a
No,
month, I
I-
might think differently, but right now, it's not something that
that's
it's not something I'm willing to agree to.
You're not asking us to prove the youth,
I said youth organization and the middle school program and the high school program, and then we got into semantics about what grade level are we talking about. In youth organization, it can go down to first grade.
I
So,
think she is asking us to approve that. You're asking us to make a policy for people who use our athletic facilities, correct?
All down.
Absolutely.
SYA Youth Association.
when they're using our facilities,
Right.
like I said, when they go someplace else, we're not governing we can only govern what our middle school and high school teams do when they go away. We can't govern what the youth organization does when they go to their away events. Like I said, SYA Wrestling,
Yeah.
for example, went to a tournament yesterday. There was, I don't know how many schools Joe said they were there. We were the only ones that were masking during competition.
No, they did not mask during the competition.
Oh, that's right. That's right. They didn't have to because they weren't in our facility. Sorry.
Okay. So you'd think this would be easier for 3 people, but sometimes it's not. So.
Well,
let
I
me
mean,
see if-
SYA Wrestling does not host until next month. That's the one thing. But basketball games started,
Okay.
basketball started this past weekend, and they'll host every Saturday from now until the end of time.
Monica, thank you very much. I appreciate all the clarity that you brought to this and help us with some of the misunderstandings we were grappling with, so we understand what your ask is, and subsequently the feedback from the board on what their focus is. With that, I can, with Christina's immense help, bring forward a motion and see if it's something we can agree upon and vote. If not, we can bring up a second motion until we find agreement or decide to table this. So with that, would you?
Okay, so the motion or the request, as I understand it from the athletic director, is to move that no masks be required when actively engaged in practice, scrimmage, and competition for Salisbury Township School District students, grades 6 through 12, and all SYA youth programs when using district facilities.
Do we want to include the verbiage to say guests of SYA also, or is that sort of included in the thought? Do you know what I mean? Like when we host a wrestling meet and there's sixth graders there.
They have
Never
to
mind.
follow our rules.
Yes, okay, never.
Okay, so
Sorry,
no,
I'm confusing
that's okay.
myself.
No,
I'm backing up.
motion to
Yes.
amend. Okay,
Christine, would you please reread that?
sure.
Yeah, I'm confused on the youth association, because I just thought you said we're not going to require them to mask, just like the rest.
I will, if you don't want the youth,
We can strike that.
strike. We don't have a second on the
So what we-
motion, so I can rephrase that if you don't want the youth in it.
And if that's what you said.
I said yes, and all SYA youth programs when they are visiting Salisbury Township School District facilities, when they're using our facilities.
They have to mask, or they don't have.
They do not have to mask.
So all program, oh, I'm sorry.
All right, let me read it again. Okay. Motion to not require masks when actively engaged in practice, scrimmages, and competition by Salisbury Township School District students in grades 6 through 12, and all SYA youth programs when the programs are using district facilities.
So there's no age restriction on SYA.
Correct.
Well, Joe was gracious enough to tell us it goes all the way down to first grade.
Right.
That's where they begin.
Yeah.
Ish. Now,
So-
we can debate this more if we like, or we can move this and put it to a vote, and if we don't approve it, then we can make another motion. But that's the motion that is coming forward from paraphrasing what our athletic director has made a request on, and does the board support that or not support that? So at least we can get that addressed and forward and vote accordingly. So with that, all those in favor?
There's a motion.
Okay,
There's a
can somebody,
motion.
can I second? Can I get a second? We all know if there's no second, it does not move forward.
Okay. And do you want me to remove the,
Could you remove the?
SYA language?
Yes, and read it again.
all right. So motion that no masks be required when actively engaged in practice, scrimmage, or competition by Salisbury Township School District students, grades 6 through 12.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All the in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Ayes have it. Okay. Now we move to Citizens' inquiries and comments general. Do we have comments, Jen? Or Christine?
So I know you just discussed this issue and voted on it, but if you look at the order of the acting Secretary of Health that we're all supposed to be following here, it doesn't apply to a certain age group. So either we're following it or we're not following it. You tell me. I'll tell you what it says. I'll read it verbatim to you. This is an exception to face covering requirement when a child/student is participating in a sports practice, activity, or event, whether indoors or outdoors. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
That's Mrs. Pojanowski.
Yes.
Mrs. Pojanowski, would you just read your name and address for the record?
Just so
Just
we
for the
have it,
point
we
of-
apologize making it come up a second
Thank
time. I
you.
should have reminded you. Sorry.
Emily Pojanowski, 1562 Sidersville Road, Bethlehem, well, Salisbury Township.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And then it's Joe.
Come on down, Joe. Tell your name and where you live. You know your new address now. Come on, you hadn't practiced that
All
too much.
1561 Cidersville Road. So it's different looking at you guys this way. I just want to go back to, and I threw my 2 cents in from the cheap seats out there, but just so we're clear, you guys understand that 6th graders who are in the middle school are in SYA. So you have 6th graders that are you saying 6th graders that are at a SYA, but they're in the middle school, don't have to wear the masks?
6th graders, yes, that's what we just passed through, my understanding.
Okay, so you have 6th graders playing in SYA that are wrestling kids in masks.
That are in 5th grade, you're saying, or not in 6th grade?
5th or 4th or any of that.
Yeah.
And I'll reiterate, we went to a competition yesterday over in Palmer Township. There was 8 schools there, and not a single one of the teams require masks while they're competing. There was coaches that were wearing them.
And Joe, thank you so much for your comments, and thank you so
I'm not
much
done
for.
yet, Sam. I got my 3 minutes. So
Keep going. I'm sorry to cut you off. And I'll wait till you're done and put the hand up, and then I'll go from there. Go right ahead.
And just the long-term impacts of what this could happen is other places might not come. Our kids might go to other organizations. And what that's going to directly impact is our middle school programs, our high school programs long-term. We've already seen the melt. And the last thing we want to do is, I understand we have to care about the concerns of the health right now. We also have to consider concerns for the future. That's all part of it. Mrs. Pojanowski cited Department of Health. I understand that the board is going above and beyond that. That's your prerogative. I do think long-term, though, it is going to hurt the student athletes and the programs. That's it.
Thank you, Joe. And duly noted, and as we said before, we will take this under advisement again, and hopefully at that time, with more time and ability to vaccinate, the board can then reconvene and make another decision, and there will be a lot more than 3 of us here to bring different points of view. So thank you for your time. Anyone else?
Yes, next is Rebecca and then Jody.
Rebecca Glenister, 2902 Edgemont Drive. Can't hear you. Rebecca Glenister, 2902.
You can turn that down a little. Yeah, there you go.
Edgemont Drive.
That looks a little more comfortable for you.
8103. So I'll just say, you know what I'm going to say, like I'm not happy about, I don't understand the magic of competing versus practicing. The mask is the mask, and I think they should be wearing it, and frankly, I don't care if we're the only school that isn't doing it. I'd be proud of the fact that we were the only school not doing it. And I also, it's not, the point of the masking and all this other stuff and the vaccination, it's not just for those particular kids, it's for the risk of the community. And the doctors would like to have the masks on, so if I were up here, that would have been what I would have said, so thanks. So we're changing, and I just want to be clear, I don't know if I can ask you a question, but so we're changing the fact they used to have to wear it in practices and scrimmages. Now we're saying that's not happening?
Correct.
Okay. Not happy, but that'd be good. All right, thanks.
You're welcome. Thank you for your time and feedback. Anyone else?
Jody? Jody Finney?
And let me just, please state your name and address.
Jody
I was
Finney.
tardy on that.
Oh, sorry, Jody Finney, 1430 Harriet Ave. Sorry, I was really close. So again, I'm here to say I do not understand why our children are masking. My son is in 4th grade. He plays basketball. Multiple kids on his team have already received their vaccinations. He's not going to. So I don't understand why they are masking during games at all. I don't understand why your comfort level specifically has anything to do with my comfort level for my child, what I deem appropriate. I would also like to bring up that my child has come home twice in the last week and a half to let me know that he is overhearing his teachers talk about if the ruling, which I thought was being voted on tonight, about masking in school, was to be made optional, that they are going to ask their building principals that the unvaccinated kids still mask. Why is that a conversation happening in front of my 10-year-old? Why, when children are being sent home from my 4th grader's classroom because they are in close contact, is his teacher encouraging them to get vaccinated? It's none of their damn business. It's not any of their business. I don't understand why our kids are being brought into this. They are all suffering. It is December of 2021. We need to wrap it up and get back to normal. You had a month to think about this. Whole month. We're not going to wait till January to do it again. Make a decision. It's not our fault that all of your board members are not here and whatever happened with that, a decision still needs to be made. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
That's all.
Is that it? Thank you so much.
Can I say something?
Go ahead, Carol.
The thing that has me on the fence here is, oh, Mike.
Yep, yeah, there you go.
Okay, our kids are going places and they're not wearing masks, so they could pick it up there. So it's like, okay, they're masking here, they're not masking there. You know, it's like, it's kind of a toss-up. We can't protect them everywhere, I guess. I don't know. That's why I'm confused. And I was confused on the motion because we were first talking 6 to 12, and I thought they said, we're not talking about youth. We don't make the decisions for youth. And then it was in the motion. So
Yeah, go ahead, Chris.
If I can just clarify that, we don't make the decisions for the youth organizations when they go off of our property.
okay.
There was a request for when they come on our property to have them not wear masks, so that's why it was worded the way it was worded.
And Monica, you come on up, I'll just go real quick. And she clarified her position several times so we understood it because it was different than what we originally said, and she came back up. But go ahead, Monica.
Just want to FYI, I just want to make sure you understand, as I was thinking about this, there are youth organization levels that go on at the same time as the high school and middle school programs do. So there are students in grades 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. That's the youth organization that they don't, like if you didn't make the basketball team, you might go play for the youth organization. So we will have Salisbury students within the youth organization playing a sport. And I'm thinking maybe that might, or what we approved might be a little, like, well, I'm in 8th grade at the middle school. I have to wear my mask when I play for the youth organization when I compete, but I don't have to wear it. But my friend who's on the 8th grade middle school team doesn't. That just hit me. Because youth it doesn't stop at 6th grade. It goes all the way through.
It goes to high school.
Yeah, you could have a senior basketball team or.
Thank you for that
yep.
point there. Let's see if we need to reassess or not. What is your feeling on that?
It's up to the board.
No, I mean, would what we moved cover the SYA or not at all?
It does not address the SYA at all. So whatever you are currently implementing
Okay.
is still
Okay.
applicable.
Okay. So would we have to make another motion and say that the mask policy would cover SYA Youth Association from 12th through 6th grade as well?
Correct.
Okay.
Monica, are there any teams that have 5th and 6th graders on them?
I didn't understand what you said, Lynn.
My question was, are there any teams which have grade 5 and grade students on them, meaning you would have half the students or some of the students required to mask and some not?
Just like Joe brought up with the wrestling, that there would be some would and some would not at that level. At least my thought, and on that, as we're talking out loud, is that I wanted to include SYA 6 through 12. We just didn't have it clarity with that. Sarah, was that your thought as well, or I don't want to put words in your mouth.
Yeah,
Carol, how about yourself?
I'm still really confused because they go away, they don't wear masks. They come here,
They got to wear a
they
mask.
gotta wear masks. It's like, they could catch it there. I don't know. Am I the only one confused? Because,
right, so I'll keep.
I mean, I guess we can feel good that we're asking them to mask, so they're not getting it here.
Exactly.
But when they go away,
They're going to be exposed to it depending on what that school district or
Right.
youth association decides to do. We play by their rules, and if they come to us, whatever our rules, they have to abide by that. Go ahead, Monica.
And just what Lynn had said about, like, you could have an in-house basketball team, which is comprised of 5th and 6th graders. So what are you going to do at that point in time? The 6th graders don't have to mask, the 5th graders do. I mean,
So what are the
when you come up to a solution, there's always one more, you know?
What are the grade breakdowns, Monica? Is it a 5, 6, 7, 8 team? Is it?
I would have to reach out to Paul. I just know 5th and 6th graders do play in the same teams. I mean, the in-house leagues, you could have you could have overlap potential of a couple grades. And
that's
the
pretty
in-house plays
typical?
at the elementary school.
And that's pretty typical?
Yes. Yes, it is. I mean, you go to these other facilities too, they don't have any rules. Is that me? They don't have any rules at the other facilities. So when you say we go there, they're not wearing it, they may not be wearing it when they're not actively engaged. You know, we're not at these other facilities where our teams go, you know, and, you know, wrestling competes at maybe 10, 12 times. They come to Salisbury twice. When basketball plays every Saturday, Eastside Youth Center, Salisbury, wherever. I mean, they're all over the place. There's different levels of teams, and I mean, it's it's complicated.
Well, you know, it's the three amigos here, and I went forward with an intermediate step that now is rightfully saying, have we gone too far? Or have we not gone far enough at this juncture? Do you feel comfortable where we're at, or would you like to start a motion to clarify or expand what we have done? Sarah? And listen, there's no right or wrong answer. It's how you feel, and you have the right to how you feel and what you're concerned about.
My gut tells me I'm comfortable where we are.
Okay. Carol?
I don't know.
I don't know.
Okay, so we got one that feels, go ahead.
What would optional masking do?
No.
Like the parents, I would say most of them wouldn't wear a mask. That would be my guess. What did she say? I didn't hear.
No, that's fine. No, at this point, discussion's with you, so go ahead.
I don't know. I don't know how I'd vote.
Okay, well,
I
go ahead.
think that if you're going to be, you also have the opportunity to put this on the reorganization meeting agenda for next week, if you want a little bit of time to think about it and/or seek clarification.
Thank you. Let's do that. I think we have a broader audience, hopefully at that time, at the reorganization, and hopefully, I'm hoping that some elective officials now are allowed to be seated, and we can get a broader discussion. So I know it's not what people want to hear, you know, someone kicking the can down the road, but at this point in juncture, since we are not of like mind, and we're seeing different areas, which is very respectful how you're looking at it, we should do that and put it on the agenda for the reorg meeting next week.
Are we going to keep the 6 to 12, though?
What we passed and we approved, that's going to stay the way it is, yes.
We'll think about the other part.
Yes, well, they'll be on the agenda for next week for us to discuss and debate in earnest at that time. Okay. With that, other reports, we have the enrollment reports that are there, honor roll percentages for the first quarter, Lcic committee meeting minutes, President's desk report, Academy charter, middle school regular board meeting minutes for you, and upcoming meetings, which there's going to be another one before January 12th at the administration building, and as well as an executive session on the 19th in our regular board meeting. So please look for the announcement for the reorg meeting once that is sent out there. And with that, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second? Thank you. We are adjourned.